Columbus didn't discover a new world. He began a genocide that killed millions within decades. A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. Audiobook summary and review by StoryShots. The version of history taught in schools presents America as a march of progress led by visionary leaders. A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn flips that narrative. Told from the perspective of the enslaved, the exploited, and the silenced, this account reveals a different story, one where power is taken from below, not granted from above. History depends on whose eyes you see it through. Most history books present the American story from the perspective of Columbus, the Founding Fathers, and presidents. Shift the lens to the people they conquered, enslaved, and governed, and the story transforms completely. Columbus didn't discover America. He launched a genocide that killed half the indigenous population of Hispaniola within 2 years. The American Revolution wasn't a unified uprising for freedom. It was a power grab by colonial elites who needed popular support to overthrow British rule. They used the language of liberty to mobilize farmers and workers, then wrote a constitution designed to protect property and limit democracy. Every time you see the word "we" in a history textbook, ask who that "we" really serves. The Civil War reveals the same pattern: strategic interests disguised as moral crusades. Racism was engineered to prevent class solidarity. Before the concept of race as we know it, there was only class. In the early colonies, enslaved Africans and indentured white servants lived, worked, and resisted together. That terrified the people in power. The ruling class created a solution. They invented whiteness. Laws gave poor white people small privileges, the right to own land, the assurance that no matter how poor they would never be at the bottom. Blackness was legally defined as permanent, heritable servitude. Race wasn't a natural division. It was a deliberate construction designed to prevent solidarity. This strategy didn't end with slavery. During the labor struggles of the early 1900s, corporations used racial divisions to break strikes. The message was always the same. Your enemy isn't the boss who pays you starvation wages. It's the worker next to you who looks different. The system survives because division is profitable. Progress comes from disruption, not from voting. Every major expansion of freedom in American history was won by ordinary people who broke the law. The 8-hour workday, child labor laws, women's suffrage, civil rights. None of these came from the goodness of leaders' hearts. They came from strikes, boycotts, sit-ins, and refusals to obey. The government's role was never to lead change. It was to contain it, to offer just enough reform to prevent revolution. When workers went on strike, the state sent in troops. When Black Americans demanded equality, the government offered voting rights but left economic oppression untouched. Every victory was incomplete by design, because the system only gives what it must to survive. Voting and legislation only work when backed by mass movements willing to disrupt business as usual. The New Deal didn't happen because FDR was generous. It happened because millions of workers were ready to burn the system down if they didn't get relief. Change requires more than ballots. It requires people willing to stop cooperating with the system that exploits them. If this changed how you think about American history, someone in your life probably needs to hear it too. Final summary. This summary of A People's History of the United States connects 3 arguments into one thesis. The version of history you were taught serves power. Racism was engineered to prevent class solidarity. And every expansion of freedom required people to defy authority. But the full account goes deeper. It traces how American imperialism shaped foreign policy from the Mexican-American War to the War on Terror, how women's movements challenged the structure of family and work, and how the rhetoric of democracy has been used to justify everything from slavery to drone strikes. This isn't just a corrective to what you learned in school. It's a manual for understanding how power actually works and how it can be challenged. We're putting together the full summary of A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn right now, with a visual infographic and animated video. Follow the book in the StoryShots app to get it the moment it's ready.